Imagine this, a nation forged in faith, a legacy on the line, and a crisis that threatened to just tear it all apart. We're going to dive into the story of a pivotal moment when history itself was holding its breath.
It's a question leaders have faced for centuries, right? But for one man, this wasn't just some thought experiment. It was a terrifying, unfolding reality.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We are in 7th century Arabia. And as you can see here, this wasn't a unified empire yet. It was more like a fragile coalition of tribes, all recently brought together under the banner of Islam by the Prophet Muhammad. But with his recent passing, well, that unity was about to be tested like never before. And the man who had to face that test was Abu Bakr, the first Caliph.
The crisis erupted with shocking speed. After the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, passed away, it was like a political and spiritual earthquake just ripped through the entire peninsula.
Think about it. The central authority in Medina, the one the Prophet had built, was suddenly gone. And in that power vacuum, a whole lot of tribes renounced their allegiance. Now, this apostasy wasn't all one thing. For some, it was as simple as refusing to pay the required charity tax, the zakat, to the state. But others took it way further, following new, false prophets who were popping up. The very existence of this new Islamic state was just hanging by a thread.
But back in Medina, there was no panic. No, there was a plan. Abu Bakr, a leader known for being calm and decisive, totally understood the scale of this threat. And the response he came up with, well, it was nothing short of genius.
Okay, check this out. The location here is so important. The Muslim forces didn't just scatter and rush out. Nope, they gathered right here at Dhul-Qissah, a strategic point just a single day's march from the capital, Medina. This was brilliant because it allowed them to defend the capital while also being the perfect command center, the perfect launchpad for one of the most incredible campaigns in history.
And this quote really gets you inside the mind of the man behind the strategy. Abu Bakr's knowledge of the peninsula was just staggering. I mean, he knew the geography, the tribal loyalties, the desert routes, everything. This quote from our source material absolutely nails it. It was as if he was seeing the entire theater of war like a living 3D map. This wasn't guesswork, you see. This was precision.
All right, so how did he put this vision into action? Well, this wasn't going to be your typical campaign, you know. Not just one big, slow-moving army marching out to crush a single enemy. The plan was way more sophisticated. It was all about speed, efficiency, and creating an overwhelming psychological impact.
11. That's the key number. He split the entire Muslim army into 11 distinct brigades. And this number is so crucial because it tells you everything about his strategy. This was going to be a coordinated, multi-front campaign designed to strike every single threat at the exact same time, before they could ever dream of uniting.
Just look at this map. From that central hub at Dhul-Qissah, you can see these 11 arrows striking out across the land. Each one represented a brigade, carrying the banner of Tawheed, that's monotheism, and each one was heading straight for a specific center of rebellion. It was a unified message of faith, delivered with perfectly calculated force.
And every single one of those arrows had a top commander and a crystal-clear objective. You had the legendary Khalid ibn al-Walid sent right into the heart of the rebellion, Amr ibn al-As marching towards the northern tribes. But just look at the sheer scale of this thing. We're talking about forces being sent to Bahrain under Allah ibn al-Hadrami and all the way down to Yemen and Oman. Every single corner of the peninsula was covered. It was meticulous and comprehensive.
But here's the thing. Abu Bakr's strategy wasn't just about swords and soldiers. Nope. Before a single major battle was fought, he deployed his most powerful weapon of all, the callback to faith. What he did was, he wrote this one incredibly powerful letter, and he had copies sent out with his commanders, with messengers, to every single tribe, both those who remained loyal and, crucially, those who were starting to waver. It was an appeal, sure, but it was also an ultimatum. It was one last chance for a peaceful resolution.
In this letter, he goes right to the heart of the problem, all the grief and confusion surrounding the Prophet's death. He reminded them of a fundamental truth, with this verse from the Quran, explaining that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was a mortal man. His death, while a monumental loss, was always part of God's plan for everyone.
So this is the crucial point. He then uses this second verse to completely refocus their faith. The message, he's saying, is eternal, even if the messenger was mortal. Their allegiance was to God and his message, not just to a man. So to turn back on your heels was to abandon the very truth they had embraced. It was a profound theological argument right at the center of a military campaign. Just incredible. So, okay, the call for peace has been made. Now what? Well, Abu Bakr gave his commanders a simple but absolutely brilliant rule of engagement, a clear test to distinguish friend from foe and to make sure no loyal Muslims were harmed in the chaos.
This is it. So simple, so smart. The test was the adhan, the public call to prayer. If a commander and his army approached a settlement and they heard the adhan, the order was clear: do not attack. That community was Muslim. But if all they heard was silence, well, that was the sign of rebellion, and only then was the army to engage. This simple rule prevented so much chaos and focused the armies only on those who had truly left the faith.
So why the incredible speed? Why the rush? This was a preemptive strike, plain and simple. Abu Bakr knew he had a very small window of opportunity. Right then, the apostate movements were still scattered, each in their own region. They hadn't had time to unite their forces, which would have created an unstoppable rebellion. He had to act, and he had to act now.
That whole 11-arrow strategy was designed for this one purpose: hit these scattered rebellions hard and fast, crushing them individually before they could merge into a single existential threat to the state of Medina. It really was a race against time.
And as you can see right here on the map, the plan worked. It worked perfectly. The 11 arrows, all guided by that one central vision, converged on their targets. And get this, each commander was in constant communication with Abu Bakr, reporting progress and receiving new orders. It was a masterpiece of command and control. And the result? Well, it was nothing short of miraculous. This combination of spiritual appeal, clear communication, and overwhelming decisive military action brought the entire Arabian Peninsula back into the fold. The nation was saved from the brink.
So it leaves you with a question, doesn't it? What does it truly take to hold a legacy together in the face of absolute crisis? The story of Abu Bakr's Gambit offers an answer. It's not just about military might. It's the clarity of vision to see the whole board, the wisdom to use words before swords, and the courage to launch 11 arrows of faith when the world feels like it's falling apart.